Wait, do you think there could be a black pope?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't. I don't. I mean, I don't want to say like never, ever, 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 but like maybe, I don't know, maybe there'll be like an Obama, like a light skin, whatever.
A light skin of a fine
A light skin.
Imagine a fine pope. What's under them robes, babe?
Ew.
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go again, but you ain't picking your phone up. Why you messing my head up? Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is just saying yeah, 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 yeah. Better nights, better days, when you're here with me, babe.
Okay, cool.
Hi, guys.
Hi. So our topic today is we have a new pope.
The Pope.
The Pope.
How do you feel about the Pope in general? Like, what do you think about the Pope?
I don't care about the Pope.
Did you grow up hearing about the Pope?
No.
Neither did I.
No. I don't care about the Pope at all. But I think that there's interesting things around, like, them as a figure and, like, the religious components.
I think it's interesting, too.
Yeah. There's already, like, conversations coming out. I didn't know the Pope changes their name.
Really? Like,
No.
like they all have different names. They have to pick a Roman Catholic name?
I don't know why they have to change it, but yeah, they have to change their names. So now he's going by Leo.
People always say the Pope is the most famous person in the world. And I'm like, is that just because there's like tons of Catholics in the world? Because I feel like he's maybe, but why? Like, what does he do? Like,
I think he's like supposed to be like the moral authority or like set the like tone standards for like all of those people.
And people didn't like this last one because he was super liberal.
Really?
The one before. Like he said like being gay wasn't bad and shit like that.
Did he say that? Or did he just I feel like he was neutral on it.
No, I think he said like the stance on this needs to like be updated or something like that.
Got it. I don't know. So people are having like this response to there being like the first American Pope while Trump's in office.
What are the folks saying? What are the streets saying?
The streets are saying, did we like buy a Pope, basically?
Let's put the Pope here. That's wild.
How many Trump coins or whatever the fuck?
LOL. Do you think there's implications for having an American Pope?
Well, apparently they've intentionally tried not to have popes that are from like influential countries because they don't want like there to be like a power differential or structure. Like the Catholic world leaders here are like excited that it's America. Like, so I'm not exactly sure like what that means moving forward, but I just think it's funny because like this is what people are talking about when they say like everybody's like obsessed with Trump, but then also at the same time, it's not implausible.
It's not implausible.
And it's not like implausible.
Everybody's kind of like, well, we don't know.
We're not quite sure.
Doing whatever.
Whatever.
What the ever.
Whatever he feels like doing,
whatever
he feels like doing.
He'd be doing that. It says Hogarden. Sorry. Sorry.
I'll be interested to see if this Pope maintains like the liberal trends that we were going on, or if like can you say like God changed his mind about the gays again? Like, is that something that
I think they can?
Can they be like?
I mean, they say that.
Actually, I conferred with God and we went a little too far last time. So we're going to like take a couple steps back.
God said the last guy went a little too far. God said that the gays actually ixnay gaze. Sorry.
We were hanging out with your dad earlier today. He brought up a good point, which is that a good percentage of like the Catholic community is African because of the colonization in Africa. Mm-hmm. I don't know what percent it looks like. I don't know. I tried to look up statistics while we were waiting. I couldn't find any. So that's interesting. But then also tracks because it's like a worldwide population. So I guess how exactly do you like keep up with that?
And they do a lot of evangelizing.
But do you think there's something, I mean, this is kind of not a real question, but do you think there's something significant about no black pope? Like, do you think there'd ever be a black pope?
I was thinking about that. I don't think there will ever be a black pope. I think that the Catholics are not. I actually don't think that the African Catholics, if that's what we're kind of calling them, don't want that. I'm obviously not Catholic.
I don't think that's true because when I was looking up like people who were like, maybe they thought were going to be in the running, there were like some Africans.
That's fair. And I guess Desmond Tutu was like a very famous popish person. I feel like no, because also the American Catholics aren't going. like the Irish Catholics, I feel like those are the most famous Catholics.
They're not going to have a black man tell them what to do.
I don't think the Irish are going for that. I don't think they're going for that.
You're going to have so many Irish commenting. There goes the racist one again. There she goes, acting up. She's so divisive. She's so divisive. She makes everything about religion. They get even a race. They even made religion about race.
What do you think the American Pope is going to say about all the child?
I think they're going to keep. Don't they just ignore it?
Yeah, pretty much.
They don't acknowledge it, right?
They don't give a.
They're like walking hypocrite.
Did you see this? That there was some. The Trump administration is saying that like there's a bill that like wants them to look through like the new bills about who can be around kids alone and stuff like that. And they're like, well, that's going to impact clergy members, and they're mad about it. So they're trying to repeal the bill.
Wait, what?
I'm totally talking about this wrong, but like there's a bill or something trying to get passed about like to protect children in I think in mostly like religious settings, and Catholic people are mad about it because they know it's going to indiscriminately impact Catholic people because of all the child abuse stuff. And so they're trying to be like, we don't want this bill because it's going to take away all our clergymen.
Interesting. And I need to know more about it to confirm or deny it.
Yes.
It could all. It sounds like
It's something out of Rachel's brain.
It sounds like something that's partially true with context.
When talking with me.
Well,
wait, do you think there could be a black pope?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't want to say like never, ever, 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 but like maybe, I don't know, maybe there'll be like an Obama, like a light skin, whatever.
A light skin of a fine pope.
A light skin.
Imagine a fine pope. What's under them robes, babe?
Ew. The
Sorry.
voice.
Okay, sorry.
But the like Pope conversation, just everyone talking about it, made me think about just this like, I don't know, there being an American Pope, like there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm not saying it's like anything terrible is going to happen, but I just think it's an interesting timing because it aligns with also, I feel like a lot of like policy change and like shifting in America around like trying to support like religious institutions and like religious schooling, I feel like, and then like protection over Christian bodies. I feel like some of the like anti-trans stuff is seen as protection about like over Christian bodies. Like we're saving them from mutilation by the gays. Like the gays are mutilating God's bodies, so we have to stop them.
The gays are coming.
And they like are using like satanic voodoo to like inflict the children, and so we have to stop them. And like it permeates through the air. Like we have to go on droplet precautions against the trans.
They're gonna breathe it onto our kids.
But I really think that it's like this whole like besides being hateful,
it's
it's
puritanical.
Puritanical notion of like God's body that he gave you is pure and like you are harming it.
What do you think the Latinos think about an American Catholic Pope? Because I feel like they're like also like the bedrock of Catholics.
I don't know. I don't think people
fuck?
care. I just Americans are probably so like self-involved that we're the only ones who care.
There's going to be like memes of like the American flag on the top of the what's it called? Where does the Pope live? The Vatican. America first. That's horrible. Wow, we really trashed up the Vatican.
We did. Just wait, monster truck shows.
Oh, imagine like American flag regalia outside Vatican. That's horrible. We're gonna see all these American Catholics waving their little American flag in front of the Vatican. Finally.
But yeah, it just I can't even tell if like the general public and population in the United States has gotten more religious, or if like the religious like sect and like the internet has just gotten louder. I don't know if like more religious people are being open in government, but like
it's interesting.
There's like this swirling feeling that like people are getting more religious, but then I'm not interacting with people that I feel like are super religious.
I think people historically also turn to religion in like quote unquote uncertain times. So I think it goes with like the wave of continuum, whatever we're on, is that when people feel hopeless, they turn to God, they turn to religion, they want to be in groups. And I feel like the world feels destabilized in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right that in the Western world, it feels like, or at least in America, it feels like there's now this like religious fervor for like
But I don't feel like I'm around a bunch of religious
No.
people. So that's the part.
But do you
Maybe
feel
we're
like
just
online?
isolated. Yeah, but online also feels like it magnifies small groups. So it's hard to know like exactly what's going on. Something that feels like the religious, like evangelical Christians have like actually busted through the doors in like a significant way is this like talk that they're doing about like basically defunding public schools and giving money to religious charter schools.
Speak on it.
So like that feels like something that feels tangible. Like, okay, this isn't just internet talk. So there's been conversation and bills and things being proposed about because we're having a failing like education system, which I'm not disagreeing that the education system is failing. I don't think privatizing is the way to go.
I agree.
But it's always been like consistent that certain schools don't get like public funding. And so now they're kind of trying to widen the gap of like the barrier to getting public funding. So like they want to take money from that being used at public schools right now and like put it into charter schools, which in theory, like, well, if the school's bad, yeah, we should defund it and like add new things to it. But I also think like it's going to create further and further rifts. And like it'll be interesting because I think people are going to be taught different things in different schools. And like the scary thing about religious schools is when they interface like religious knowledge with like scientific truth or like those kinds of things.
Pseudoscience.
People don't learn critical thinking. And so like if we're all getting this different knowledge and not being taught how to think critically, like it's not looking good for us long term.
And it's not looking good right now. Do you have an opinion on charter schools?
I don't.
I hear different things. I don't know much about them.
I don't. I think like also you were saying something interesting earlier about how I think people are going to hear this and think like, great, we can make community-based schools,
Yeah.
but I don't think that everyone's going to be treated fairly in terms of opening schools and getting access to funds, which is happening currently.
I
just think
Black people also
we need an improved standardized education system. I don't know, like breaking off into more and more sects based on like, let's be honest, money, which is already happening in our public schools, but making it even more like segregated by money, I think is going to not be
not a good
great.
idea. And adding religion, I think, yes, you and I we don't have like religious people around us. I think that's just because it's us. But I think people are leaning into that shit more. People that, people I went to high school with or people that like just kind of like know peripherally are all of a sudden very into God and being
But
Christian.
didn't you went to a Christian high school?
I know, but I feel like it's not Catholicism.
No, but you went to a Christian high school.
A Catholic high school.
Okay.
But none of them are I just feel, I guess.
I don't know. I remember you mentioning to me basically that like in the last couple of years, you've seen a lot of people, specifically women, either newly married or single, like converting to a religion, like being or like not even converting, maybe a religion they grew up around but didn't practice, and practicing it like very, very intently in a way that like is new to you, like weird from their personalities.
It is. And I think I try and be like, okay, like it's okay for people to like find religion later in life or whatever, right? But there's something specifically, I am hesitating to say performative, but it just feels small p performative. I think because
small p performative.
I'm easing into this because it feels like it's all centered around getting a husband, keeping a husband, being a good woman. I think that like I've seen that there's like certain, talking heads and celebrities that lean more Christian all of a sudden after kind of their wild persona didn't work out. And now I see like lay people kind of doing the same thing, which it's kind of like a redeeming, I don't know. And it just seems A, disingenuous, and B, I'm like, I don't know, just man-centered. And maybe that's not very like.
So the people that you've seen get more religious and you're like around, like in the ether that you actually know, like did it for a man or with the intention of getting a man to be more appealing.
I think that they've
to be seen as a proper woman.
Yes, and I think it's like a new dating frontier.
Like you do, I guess you do add a whole new spectrum of dating if you date religious men.
And I think that they like for a lot of women, they think that dating a Christian man it's going to yield better results. like I don't. There.
One thing about dating a Christian man and you're a Christian woman, I will say, is there is no negotiating around the expectation that we're working towards marriage.
Yeah.
Which I think like probably sounds appealing.
Yeah.
If you want to get married, right? Like that's not really on the table to be like, we're just here to be here. Because I think a lot of those women were just wilding in their 20s, which is fine. But it's almost like they're ashamed of how they were before and now they've been saved, which is so stupid and like anti-woman.
Anti-woman and just like anti your fucking self. Like that was the life you lived and now you're just trying to like wash. I don't know. Like, are we really trying to wash away our sins in the year 2025?
We are. We are.
What do you think about people turning to religion, not even late in life, in your 30s, like, or late 20s? Like, what?
I'm just not a religious person. So for me, it doesn't bring like the community and comfort. I see a lot of people whose like religious community is their community. And that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Like they're looking for what they think is like a wholesome, safe connection. And they find that in the church. I think a lot of people who have kids want their kids to grow up in the church. And they feel like that's essential to like creating good values. I see a lot of like, in theory, positives around it, but I do also see a lot of women specifically being Christian or Muslim and
that too,
just engaging with men in a way where they're second-class citizens, but doing it for the Lord. And like all of these videos going around of women who are, how do I put this? Being mistreated by men and saying that like God is who allowed them or what allowed them to like continue the marriage and like have faith even though they were being mistreated. And like I think it pedestals I think the marriage over the person, which is not my value system, but that's a lot of people's values, honestly. And it takes away the shame of staying in a bad marriage. Cause like you're doing it for God. If you're doing it for God, not you're in pain.
I'm in pain. My butt cheeks are clenching.
If you're doing it for God, it's wholesome, not shameful. Rather than if you're doing it because you have low self-esteem and you don't think you could do better or you don't, think that people will
and that's the problem.
Ride for you if you leave, whatever the thing is, you think your life will get worse. I don't know. Because this other like the preachings around like getting into a subservient position with your husband. So like he is God's right-hand man basically in your house. And like he gets to interpret the word and like all of these things. I just find it so odd to meet someone and be like, I love them and I trust them. So I'm going to let them make my life decisions for me. Like what?
I think I sent you this. Maybe I'll have to send it to you again. It'd be interesting to show on here. But there's this talk show that like, or this kind of like YouTube show that's like for like Black couples and things like that. I don't watch it, but I saw this clip because this Black therapist that I follow is on there, and she's a relationship person and whatever. And the couple that she was talking to, they're a really Christian couple. I think he's a pastor or something. And the wife was talking about infidelity and how he cheated on her and she stayed. And she's like, well, I didn't stay because God told me to stay because of infidelity. I stayed because some other wild shit. And essentially the therapist broke it down like, well, I hope you're not telling like, and people were in the comments were mad at the therapist for kind of breaking it down. Like, well, we don't want to promote that type of relationship to young people or to young couples or things like that you should stay through whatever. And I'm not being eloquent about it, but it surprised me how many people were going at the therapist, and it shouldn't have surprised me.
What was the therapist saying?
Specifically, it was, and she was being like kind about it, but she was kind of just poking at their logic, just being like, well, I don't know about like if staying with somebody because God, like what is, I'm not remembering it quite right, but she's not religious.
She was essentially being like, is this really for God?
Is this really for God? And the couple was getting like mad. They were like, well, you're getting aggressive. You're questioning us, all this other stuff. And people were like, well, she must be single, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, she's married with like 3 children. So
why is being single so weaponized?
Like you can't know shit about relationships if you're
single. Must be single. She must be single. She must like every woman who's like doesn't want to think for themselves is like sees a woman who thinks for herself and is like, that's why you're single.
Yes.
And is. I'm not even single, but is this notion that, yes, I would rather be alone. That actually isn't a scarlet letter. I would rather be alone than let somebody else think for me for the next 60 years. That sounds like a terrible, terrible choice.
That's essentially what she was saying.
a terrible choice. And they're always like, well, you're not in a happy marriage. Girl, you're not either.
Girl, you're not either.
You're not either.
Oh my God.
Love a scrap.
Love a scrap. That's the name of the episode. Love a scrap.
They love some crumbs, boy. They love a crumb. The Lord giveth and taketh.
You deal with religious people in your work setting.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
I don't want to say deal with, like, I don't
yes,
like them.
Yes.
I don't have an issue with people being religious, although I gotta say, like, if I can tell you're religious within like a 10-minute conversation, we weren't meant to be friends, but that's okay. I don't dislike you as a person. We're not gonna connect because we don't see the world the same.
I don't see the world the same.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with a lot of people who are religious, and it works kind of both ways in my job, right? So I work on an inpatient setting with people who are suicidal, homicidal, etc. And like, there are some people who genuinely are like, haven't acted on their urges to end their life because they don't want to go to hell for doing it. Yeah. So like, in theory, that's a protective factor, right? It's stopping them from making a bad choice. But then I also meet tons of people who are like very unhappy because they don't fit into the small box that their religious community tells them they need to fit into. And they feel very bad about themselves, and they feel a lot of shame. I've met a lot of people actually, who are so like grew up in such a religious community that they feel bad about their thoughts. Mm-hmm. Not even their actions, their thoughts. They feel like their thoughts are impure. Mm-hmm. Their thoughts are causing them harm. Their thoughts are like shameful and sinful. Like the notion of like a sinful thought is wild. The notion that like something that you are not in control of, and no, you're not in control of your thoughts. You can choose what thoughts you pay attention to. You can choose how to respond to your thoughts. You can choose how to see your thoughts. You're not in full control of your thoughts. So something that you're not in full control over can make you a bad person. I can't imagine the amount of guilt you have to be walking around with to be like, I'm a bad person because I have bad thoughts. And
that's the thing is like, and you said it too, is like, you can't be I feel like you can't be expansive, your expansive self under religion. But that's not how it could be with God. Does that make sense? Like, I think God and religion are different. Some people can be expansive and have that with God, but religion doesn't allow you. Like, you can't. That's the purpose of it. You're not supposed to be. No, you're
supposed to be in the community, right? Like, fall in line because that's what's best for everybody. Exactly. And like, I'm not saying this in like a better than that way, because I think for a lot of people, they literally wouldn't have community if they didn't have their church. And
religion works on a small scale for me. It's when anything becomes very large, it becomes social control. Like, I feel like in small communities, it keeps the community held. It's like, it's part of tradition, things like that. But in mass, it gets ugly quickly.
And I feel like the Pope, like, to bring it all back, is a mass thing. Like, it's an in mass thing, right? And so it's kind of bizarre.
That's a good point.
Like the full circle thing. And so like,
that's a mass thing. And they have mass.
I just feel like when people talk about like distrusting Trump, like I share the sentiment, but I also kind of distrust like America, like in general. So it'll just be interesting to see, like,
it kind of like taints
it'll be interesting to see how people respond to this. I mean, in the reality, like, he's been in Peru for the last 20 years. Like, he's probably just fine and like did all the things and whatever, did all this great work there. And that's part of why he's being propped up. But it's just
funny as fuck.
It's very funny that this is the timing of that.
All the jokes are going to be hilarious.
Yes. I also feel, like, we needed this. Like, a lot of people in America just needed something to feel like nationalistic and proud about. And like,
is there any part of you that feels like they can rig a conclave?
Yes. Yes. I don't know anything about the conclave or how it works, but yes. What? Yes.
Do you think the Americans paid to get?
He's gonna come out and be like, and the Pope stands with Israel, and we're all gonna know.
We're all gonna know. AIPAC paid for the Pope. Wow.
And on that note,
let's go.
We'll see you next week. 2 weeks. We'll be out of town.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go again, but you ain't picking your